Hey there, Squirrel Army. How's it going for today? Today we're having another look at some of the face commanders from the new Commander Legends Precon decks. This is from the Enchantress decks, Athena, Hand of Erebos.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so an Abzan Enchantress commander. That seems kind of cool. Though I do kind of feel like, again, this is another commander that might be gutted for other 3 and 4 color commander decks and whatnot. So, but she is certainly pretty good. Menace 4/4 isn't too bad. Other enchantments we control have Menace. That's really pretty good. Especially when we're mostly trying to go aggro. I know that that's not the most optimal kind of strategy, but when you're doing that strategy, it's quite good. Flying and trample are the only other 2 evasive abilities that I would think are somewhat comparable or better. So that's pretty darn good. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, so that's really good because a lot of the other commanders are, not that immediately for the most part. They can be, but they're not that immediate. At least with this, you get immediate value. You play it, you get something from it. You can exile a non-aura enchantment from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black zombie creature token in addition to its other types. So we exile a enchantment from our graveyard and we make a 3/3 menace. So that's not that bad. If we had things like, I don't know that there's that many that actually come with counters or whatever, but if we had something that came with counters, that's also an enchantment, essentially, then we would get, a 3/3 with however many counters. So we would get a 6/6 or a 7/7 or whatever it is, so that could be quite good there with that. If that does, if there are any, I don't think that there are, but that would be quite good. It doesn't really provide us with much in the way of card advantage, card draw, and that sort of thing. But the colors are really good because most of the good enchantment stuff is in white, green anyway. So we've got a lot of options there, at least. I don't know how much black, honestly, gives us, though. There are a few that are there that I can think about immediately, like Erebos, obviously, and things like that. There are a few other ones. There's the one that whenever an enchantment enters, each opponent loses a life. There's also the one that basically gives -1/-1 to all opponents' creatures. And I think the one that makes people discard as well. So those are the better ones that I can think of just off the top of my head. There's also the ones that the Orzhov enchantment. What's his name? Can't think of his name. But anyway, when something goes to our graveyard, opponent has to pay 3 life, or we put it to our hands. So that's real powerful. Also, there's also the other ones that you put coin counters on your stuff and can return them and things like that. So there's certainly a few grave shenanigans that would already be in our colors, though that's a very Golgari stroke Orzhov-y kind of thing anyway for the most part. So that's kind of there. There's also that enchantment that does bring our enchantments back from the graveyard that's in our colors. The main thing here that I would think of to figure out how we can win with this, because there are a lot of the really good payoff things that we want for a deck like this aren't enchantments. There are a few that are, but there's a lot that also aren't enchantments, and that always feels bad when you've got to play cards that aren't the things that you're caring about. You've got to play all these non-artifact things, yet your deck really cares about artifacts. So it's well, I really need those artifacts. I don't need these non-artifacts. But I've got to have some of these non-artifacts because, well, that's all the cards that are out there that actually care about artifacts or whatever, or enchantments in this case. So it's tough to, balance that out. Now, I don't know that we want many auras, and I'm never a big fan of auras myself. This has menace. It can be somewhat difficult to block. I think we want more toughness. I really do. I think we want more toughness on this. Like, if this had 2 power and, like, even 5 toughness, I would be much more happy with it. Because, like the amount of damage that we're going to do with this is irrelevant. We just want the enters and attacks triggers. Obviously, there are some flicker effects in white that we could use as well. And they're almost all at the end step, I believe. So, yeah, we could use some of that so that we could attack with our, play our commander, get a trigger off, attack with our commander, get another trigger off, and then flicker it and get another trigger off. So that could be very good. There could be a lot of, panharmonicon style of effects that we might want to deal into, but I wouldn't think that you want to go too deep down that rabbit hole. Not that say that you can't, but I wouldn't think that you need to go too deep on that, but I'm not sure. Like, there's Thassa's the only other one that I can think of, but she's in blue, unfortunately, so, that's the only god that I can think of that actually flickers stuff. So there are a few other things that we could try to do. Like, as I said, the life drain sort of effect, that's very Orzhov-y and very taxing and whatnot, and very aristocratic. We could go down that route as well. So we could kind of go down multiple routes and just hope that we've got enough kind of things that would kind of all stack together to get us that win eventually at some point. So that could be all right as well. So yeah, I think that this is a cool commander and has a few kind of build paths. You could really build it quite mean if you really wanted to, and things like that. So, but you could also just kind of build enchantments deck. Let's go and whatever, and just see what you kind of get out of it. Because there certainly would be a few enchantments that are out there that, perhaps they aren't that amazing or whatever, but they're enchantments and we can just like bin them, or they have cycling or whatever else, things like that. Or we can have a lot. There's not that many loot cards or entomb cards, I don't think, in our colors, but there are some certainly, but not a huge amount. But again, we could try to do that whole milling thing as well, because we are in Golgari. Golgari does a lot of milling, so we could mill ourselves and just get back our best enchantment from our graveyard, rather than trying to rely on just hoping to put them there or some sort of looting. Though these colors don't have much looting, kind of, so that's mostly red and blue, so it would be harder in these colors. But again, there could be stuff there that we would be interested in. So yeah, that's what I think so far of this commander. It's only just come out, so it's one of those things I haven't really seen. No one's really seen the deck list except for the people who've been creating the decks. So until we really see more of these decks and whatnot, it's harder to make a judgment on more of these cards than what you see on their face. Because the deck does tell you a lot about what you're actually doing, and it gives you a lot of the cards that you go, right, well, I've actually got this in the deck, so I don't need to worry about getting this. So that's really good. And when you have those cards, then you're just like going, cool, now I just need to find some of these other cards that, really would prop this deck up. Or, maybe I want to find some foils or some alt arts or whatever else just to pimp out my own deck and whatnot. But anyway, as I say, guys, you guys can always let me know what you guys think of this one. And, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you will join me again in the next one.